Folks, hello, and welcome to the presentation. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, guys. Hello. Appreciate all you guys being here. Happy Friday to you, wherever you are in this brutal world. It is, it's Valentine's. It's Valentine's Day. Did you know that? So hopefully you are having a good Valentine's Day wherever you are in this world. You're having a good time. You're celebrating it with that one special person, or perhaps your friends, your family. There we are. Appreciate. And if you don't have a main squeeze, honey bun, baby doll, sugar capes, love of the world, well, that's okay. You can just spend Valentine's Day with us. See how that works? You just spend Valentine's Day with us. It's all right. So we appreciate you guys being here. No. We're not alone. We're having a good time. We'll have a good time. So if you don't have a main squeeze, honey bun, baby doll, sugar capes, that's okay. That's all right. Yeah, St. Valentine's, the story of St. Valentine is very interesting, isn't it? Yeah, he was martyred because, in the Romans, they didn't particularly care too much for, it was just terrible. But nonetheless, there it is. There it is, folks. There it is. So if I do appreciate you guys being here on this day, and thank you very much, Roxy. And for those of you, if I keep saying thank you, it's my friends there on TikTok. They're sending gifts. Finally, they're able to do that again, or they're resubscribing. TikTok is now, by the way, if you've not heard the news, TikTok is now back on the app stores. That's good news. That's very good news. So it's back on the Android or Google. It's back on for Apple. So I think that's wonderful. Okay. I agree. So right now, as long as everyone can behave, TikTok, we'll leave chat on to open everybody. I want chat to be open to everyone, to everybody. That's the goal. But the reason is we put sub chat only on is because the trolls come in and ruin it for everybody. But we have to because they say some of the terrible things. So just be nice, people. Just be nice. That's all we ask. That's it. Just be nice. And then we'll leave the chat open for everybody. And you can ask questions and we'll be, more than happy to entertain them. Everybody, I'm Bishop James Long, and I appreciate you guys being here. First of all, it is, Warren. If you would like to do us a favor, I want you to go to our sponsor's website. It's KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. Again, the website, it's KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. Go to that site and subscribe. They have amazing shows there. This show airs. As a matter of fact, I think we're number one in the paranormal show genre, which I'm very, very, that's an honor. But make sure you put Bishop as your promo code, because when you do, you're going to get 30% off your subscription. It's already inexpensive as it is, but you're going to save 30%. Why not? Again, thank you for putting that in the chat there, Bill and everybody. The website, once more, is KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. And they have some amazing shows. So, top notch. So definitely go over there, put Bishop as your promo code, and then you're all set to go. If you want to go to my website, that's simple too. BishopJamesLong.com. Nope, it's not sinful at all. And I'll talk about that in just a second. Why does a priest talk about paranormal? It's sinful. No, and don't mute him, because I'm actually going to make an example of him in just a second. He's always coming here with the battle of the wits. Too bad you came unprepared. Now, if you want to go to my website, BishopJamesLong.com, head on over there. If you want to go to the church's website, that's simple as well. USOCC.org. USOCC.org. So let me make this very clear for people who like to judge. For 35 years, I've been in this paranormal community. And I'll tell you this. I have been judged. I have been condemned. I have been told I'm the spawn of Satan himself, because I stand up for paranormal teams. And I'll tell you why I do that before you guys stand as if you have a pulpit to judge anybody. I don't see anybody who loves to throw out insults. I don't see you answering the phone at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't see you answering the phone at 3, 4, 5 in the morning. I don't see you going out buying thousands of dollars worth of equipment. I don't see you going to people's homes whom you don't even know, and you don't even owe them anything, and you're traveling 8 to 10 hours to their home, not charging one penny, by the way, and spending everything out of your own pocket to help families who are truly terrified. I don't see you, in fact, Mr. High Almighty in the pulpit, doing that at all. Rather, what I see you doing is opening your mouth and giving insults to people who are actually doing the work of God. So if you cannot contribute anything actually valuable to this conversation, then perhaps you can see your way out. Okay? Thanks. You see, friends, let me explain something to you. Paranormal teams have been a blessing to me. Blessing. Because they understand it's easy to sit there and talk about ministry. But to do ministry, it takes work. It takes dedication. It takes devotion. And it takes sacrifice. So, for example, teams who spend quite a bit of money on equipment. Stop sending me messages, please. I'm on the show. So people who send me, people who buy equipment and spend a lot of money on this, they go to people's homes and they don't even know these people. They don't owe them anything, nothing. And yet they are going to their homes. They're investigating. It takes hours. Understand that when you investigate a location, that takes hours and hours of your time. Okay, if they people don't stop. I'm in a show. You know I'm in a show. So do it again, I'm going to block you. So I just find it appalling. I do. I find it appalling that people will constantly insult paranormal teams who are investigating, who buy all the equipment, spend all the time investigating equipment, put themselves in danger by doing so. And then they have to review all of the evidence afterwards. And then once they do that, then they submit the evidence to me and I just determine what we need to do. So for those of you who like to do this and who like to say that paranormal teams are doing the work of the devil, I don't see you. I never see those people answering the phones. I never see those people buying thousands of dollars worth of equipment. I never see those people going to these people's homes and spending hours away from their families. I never see that. What I see is this. That's what I see. Yapping their jaws and not contributing nothing. It's zero, zilch, nada for the benefit of other people. Nothing. And so this is exactly that's why I don't pay attention to the haters. The haters will always do this. That's what the haters do. But anybody can do this. That takes no talent. That takes absolutely no pay. It takes nothing except for somebody who clearly wouldn't know ministry if it bit them in the rear. So paranormal teams, for those of you who don't know, let me tell you something. These people should be applauded, not insulted. Because they're the ones, like I said, spending thousands of dollars worth of equipment. They're the ones not charging. They're the ones not trying to tell a family, oh, everything is a demon, because it's not. They are the ones that's investigating these cases that some of them are very dangerous cases, and they know full well the consequences of getting involved in demonic cases, and yet they're still willing to help these people whom they don't even know. If you can't at least applaud that, then you clearly have a bigger problem than I do. Because I see that as a sacrifice. I see that as unsung heroes, people who should be applauded. And yet, instead, you have people who constantly judge them and condemn them because for some reason they think they're the mouthpiece of Christianity. Well, I'm sorry, but no, I'm not going to apologize. That's not insulting people who actually do ministry. That's not Christianity. That's demonic. And you want me to prove that demons exist? Seriously? So, and there's a lot of people right now who are listening and watching who are paranormal investigators. So I'm telling you this, and I've been very outspoken about this for years and years and years. Paranormal teams who help families who are truly terrified with activity that is occurring in their home, by God, they deserve our respect. And if you can't give them respect, then keep your mouth shut. And if you can't keep your mouth shut, then you go out and you buy the thousands of dollars worth of equipment. And then I'll give you some cases, and then you can travel 10 hours to a person's home whom you don't even know, not charge, and you can put yourself in a precarious situation so that you can help a family. But they won't do that, will they? They won't. They'll do this. Pharisees. That's all they do. Pharisees. So there we go. I appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much. And that's how I feel. That's how I feel about that. Yeah, I just, we have to, let me tell you something. Demonic activity is dangerous. Working demonic cases, it's dangerous. This is not something to be taken lightly. And, people sometimes think, well, it's just an easy peasy kind of a ministry. No, it's not. No, it's not. I've seen a lot of people come and go through the years. A lot of people. Let me tell you this, because I've been in the paranormal 35 years. I've seen people who went around claiming to be demonologists and exorcists, and their lives, because they were not properly trained, and they did it to become famous in the paranormal. And in every case, in every single time, their lives went in complete turmoil. Every time. Because when you get involved with these type of cases, it's not something to play around with. It is very, very dangerous. And so that's why tonight, yes, that's right, Nayad, armchair know-it-alls. Amen. Is it Nayad or Nayad? Amen to that. That is so true. Yeah, actually, the stained glass, the window that you see behind me, or over here on you guys, sorry, there for KGRDB radio for you guys, and then for TikTok, this is a friend of mine, Bishop Rita. She made that for me. Beautiful. I mean, truly talented. Very, very. That's beautiful. Absolutely. Just no, Jesus. Well, Jesus was a preacher, but he was the Messiah. Well, I knew Lorraine. I did not know Ed, but I was friends with Lorraine. Speaking of which, here is our guest tonight. We have a very special guest for this evening, and I'm going to introduce him to you guys now. Thank you, Starlight. So Bishop Kenneth Torres, he was born in New York, raised in New Jersey before settling in the San Francisco Bay Area. I've heard San Fran's beautiful. And throughout his childhood, he faced supernatural experiences, including a haunting entity that afflicted his family. Puerto Rican descent and connected to Santeria through his families. Kenneth has a background as a U.S. Marine veteran. So anybody on TikTok's going to disrespect our U.S. Marine veteran, you're going to be blocked. So just go ahead and raise your hand so we can block you. Specializing in counterterrorism and government contracting, and despite being medically retired due to injuries sustained in service, he pursued a career in ministry, focusing on helping families navigate the supernatural. Now, with a diverse educational background, Kenneth holds a degree in Counterintelligence and Security Studies, Divinity and Theology, as well as Master's in Pastoral Counselling, and is a board-certified mental health coach. So that's wonderful. He brings over 15 years of experience to his work, specializing in pastoral counseling, spiritual deliverance, and exorcism as part of the Order of Exorcists. Now, he currently serves as the Archbishop and Chief Exorcist, overseeing the seminary program for the Solomonic Order of St. Michael the Archangel. And we're going to have matter of fact, I'm very honored, by the way. I'm very honored. He's going to be participating with us at our retreats, our church retreat coming up in April. So I'm very excited to have him. So everybody, I want to introduce my friend, Bishop Kenneth Torres. Hello there, buddy.
Hey, Bishop, how are you doing? Good afternoon. God bless you. First of all, it is an honor to be here with you, to be in this space, to be with like-minded individuals. Once again, I'm just elated and extremely humbled just to be with you, my friend.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I we've known each other for a while. We never really connected. Well, quite honestly, we're both swamped and unbelievably busy with ministry. Right. First of all, how's your ministry going? What are you currently really, really busy with right now?
So currently right now, a lot of the work that I'm focusing on is just chaplaincy, pastoral counseling. I find a lot of people are in turbulent times with their life and with their soul, and they're needing direction. And so that's my main focus, is just providing them an avenue to talk about their feelings, to talk about their faith, to talk about the hurt that they've experienced, but more importantly, by example, leading a Christ life, bringing them back to the fullness of truth and grace.
Excellent. And of course, Bishop Kenneth is with the Warren Foundation, and we'll talk about that in a little bit later in the conversation. So for those who are just joining us, Bishop Long, I'm talking to our friend, Bishop Kenneth Torres, who of course is with the Warren Foundation. But there's more to ministry than demons. I mean, folks, demons don't. We're not inundated and obsessed with demons. It's just a part of a ministry. What people don't know is that clergy, especially as bishops, there's a lot of administrative duties that you have to do, but there's also this other ministry besides dealing with demons. Believe it or not.
That's true, my friend. You know, a lot of the work to do. You know, for me, it's weird being called a bishop at such a young age. I'm more of a chancellor. That's what we call it, at least with an Eastern rite. And I have the opportunity to be able to take care of souls. More importantly, my clergy. For example, like with the Solomonic Order of St. Michael, the Archangel Orthodox Church, we have multiple ministries. We have our Reverend Mother, Talia, who's in the chats. She focuses on the DV, which I can't say. We have Sister Savannah. She also focuses on substance abuse counseling. We have Deacon Ron Stokes, who focuses on the actual outreach programs and nonprofit work. And then we also have Deacon Neil. Deacon Neil is a over-the-road trucker. And so his job is going to truck stops and talking to truckers and giving them pamphlets, praying for them and setting up breakfasts and just helping them on this time while they're away with their family. And a lot of that work is I oversee that as well. But more importantly, I focus with veterans organization, Wounded Warrior Project, Hope for the Warriors, One More Wave. And I'm also a chaplain for the Knights of Columbus. I am the only non-Vatican chaplain that is authorized to be a chaplain for a Roman Catholic organization. They understand that I'm the Eastern Rite. Right. And so I'm very privileged to serve as a chaplain in that capacity as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of talking about this, the schism, and whether it be a conversation. Right. But I mean, there was understandably so, the schism, and the filioque should have never ever occurred without having some type of counsel. But I know people want to talk about demons, and we will talk about them in just a second, guys. I promise you, we're going to get to demons. I get it. I understand. But how did you become, first of all, how did you become involved with the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research? As I mentioned, I didn't know Ed. I just didn't get a chance to meet him, but I had several times opportunity to meet Lorraine and became friends with Lorraine. So I've known her, for a long time. So how did you get involved with the Warren Legacy Foundation?
So as I was going through seminary school, I was kind of always involved, like with the paranormal shows. Your first show that I saw years ago, I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. And so I was always involved with the paranormal. I had experiences growing up, and as I progressed through my military and through life, I always had this connection to the supernatural. So I would watch the shows. And a few years ago, 5 years ago exactly, I saw this ad on the foundation website. I go, what is the Warren Legacy Foundation? I know of Ed and Lorraine Warren. Mm-hmm. Let me just apply. So I applied. I didn't have the experience that they, required, but I spoke Spanish. And so I had the language skills, and that's how I got involved. I did the interview. I got into the foundation, and I learned a lot along the way as well, because I also had this deeply rooted theological narrative where I thought everything was demonic. This is what the church teaches. This is what I was taught. And I that's all I thought. But through my experience with the foundation, over the 250 requests for help that we received, I understand that faith and supernatural go hand in hand. So much of our faith is rooted in the supernatural, our faith in Christ and the mysteries of the church. So
that's right.
Why is it that those two have to be separate? And so that's how I became part of the foundation.
And for those of you just joining us, so I'm Bishop Long. We're talking to our friend Bishop Kenneth Torres, and with the Warren Foundation. It's amazing how so many people. When I started many years ago, there wasn't. This is kind of one of the reasons why I began networking with paranormal teams, is because, I can't be everywhere. I was slammed. I had no idea because there was no really Catholic clergy helping the paranormal teams. When I got involved, there was nothing around. And I didn't expect to be, I mean, I was so overwhelmed with the people from all over the United States and the world asking for help. The help was so intense. So I began working with paranormal teams who were seasoned, who didn't think everything was a demon, because everything isn't a demon. I'm sorry, folks, it's just not. Can you talk about that a little bit? Can you talk about that? Because there are people that no matter what, they're going to swear that everything is a demon. Can you, from your experience as an investigator, as an exorcist, can you please shed some light from your perspective?
Right. So everything is not demonic. And we understand that through the magisterium of doctrine of faith and certain things that God allows things to happen. And there are experiences that we encounter that are not demonic in nature. As a matter of fact, I hate when people say paranormal investigations and demonic. I think those two words should not be synonymous with one another, because those are two different types of activity. Although they be supernatural, those are two different elements, parts of the spectrum that, may at some point align. But for me, it's not demonic. I mean, we have, for me, lost souls. Lost souls for me are those individuals who may be stuck in this plane. And for me, they're in a purgatory type of state. And so my job is to try to help them find peace and crossover and help them understand. And wherever they go after that, I don't know. It's not my job to judge them, but I do know that there are these spirits, these lost souls that do need help. Obviously, according to our training, we test the spirits according to our theological training. But it's been my experience that many of the cases that I've worked are souls who are just lost, who maybe don't know that they've passed. And so what we do is with compassion, empathy, love, and mercy, we try to help them find that peace to cross over. And as far as the demonic is completely different. It's a different taste. It's a different smell. It's a different feeling. It's a putrid odor in your nose. It's that gut feeling that makes you extremely sick to your stomach. It's the waking up in the middle of the night, sweating profusely. It's the having those vivid and nasty horror dreams. It's those weird things that are happening around you, even sometimes before you get to a case. So that's how I kind of describe both.
Yeah, and see, this is what I want to make very clear to people. So for 20 years, I have said, demonology is not paranormal. Demonology is theological. And what concerns me tremendously is that, and this has been happening for so long, so many years, is that people will get, especially when the paranormal shows came out. So back in the day when I was in the paranormal in the beginning, there was no social media. I mean, we communicated through Yahoo groups. That was it. GeoCities. I mean, that was how we communicated with one another. There was no Facebook and MySpace and all that stuff. And so when the paranormal shows then came out, I mean, the explosion of people wanting to take on demonic cases just got so intense that people put themselves in really precarious situations. And I folks, listen to me very carefully. Stay away from demonic cases. I don't know why are you messing around with demonic cases. Stay away from them. Just stay away, because, people say, well, I'm a Christian, therefore I can cast out demons. No, absolutely not. No, you cannot. Because first of all, Jesus breathed upon the Holy Spirit. That is ordination. And also, don't forget about the sons of Sceva. The sons of Sceva running around in Scripture, casting out demons in Paul's name and Jesus' name. And the demon said, Paul, I know, Jesus, I know, but who are you? And then attack the men. Let me tell you something, guys. Just because you have a calling, okay, that's one thing, but you need training. I may be called to be a pilot, but are you going to get in the plane and be in a cockpit and never have any type of flight lessons? Of course not. In as much as you need to know the training, especially when you're dealing with somebody who is possessed. That is no joke.
I agree, Bishop. And I think that's often the narrative that so many of our Christian followers have. Yes, they go to church, they're devout Christians, and they'll repeat scripture, and they say, I have this ability. But just because you have the capability and the ability does not mean that you have the authority. See, the demonic realm, just like the angelic realm, They operate in a hierarchy. So you try casting out these demons, you will get confronted. You need to have some sort of spiritual authority behind you. So once again, just because you have the capability and the ability to cast out demons does not mean that you have the authority.
Okay, so I appreciate someone telling us that we're wrong. I think until you actually have the theology behind you, I think it's disrespectful to come in and talk to clergy and telling us that we're wrong when we devoted our entire adult lives to this ministry. So go ahead and perform an exorcism on someone, and then when they expire, they pass away from a heart attack or stroke, and then you're held in for manslaughter, temporary manslaughter, or manslaughter charges, or because you have no idea what you're doing. You don't know if the person is going through a heart attack or a stroke. You have nobody there who's monitoring the vitals of the possessed. Go ahead and do it, and then come talk to me about that. See, this is the problem. When you're dealing with somebody who is possessed, they've gone through extreme physical and psychological trauma. And if you don't know what to look for, if you have no idea what the signs are, if you don't know where you are in the solemn rite, if you don't even, there are people that are going around performing exorcism, they don't even know the difference between the solemn rite, the minor rite, and a deliverance. So you have no business in performing exorcism. But let me ask you about the foundation, the Warren Foundation. So how do you contribute to its goals?
So I was the Spanish division manager. Mm-hmm. And then now I am the general manager of the foundation. So basically what I do is I contribute to the cases. The caseloads come in and we divert them to either the regional directors, and then regional directors will assemble a team and they'll make contact with the client. And from there, it's just a discovery phase. It's been my experience that just with one or two video calls, a lot of the supernatural phenomena goes away. A lot of it is like movement of the eye. Many people are just watching scary movies or watching shows, or maybe there's individuals that may have some sort of intuitive abilities or some sort of manifestation. But my contribution is always being involved with every case that comes in and trying to help out the families. So the foundation is diverse. We have different backgrounds. We have all religions except for Satanism. And so our job is basically a collective of individual professionals. We have psychologists, doctors, therapists. We have technicians, people who are good at understanding electronic equipment. So it's a vast array of professionals. And then we just come together to try to give a resolution and solve the problem for the clients. And that's really what we do.
Yeah, someone was asking a question, and it is a very, very fair question. 74 Elisa or Liza, Bishop, back in the old days, why did they use shock treatment when it was a demon? Well, and I have found this. Thankfully, I have a psychiatrist that I work with who absolutely 1,000,000% believes in possession. She's seen possession, and so we require psychological evaluation before performing an exorcism. And so, but there are people in the medical field that no matter what, they're not going to accept the fact that possession exists. And so back in the day, they just simply thought, well, if you have epilepsy, like for example, Annalise McKell, she had grand mal epilepsy. And instead of actually, because they didn't know, and so they put her, unfortunately, in a mental health hospital that did far more damage to her than good. Let me ask you this, Bishop, and for those of you joining, we're talking to my friend, Bishop Kenneth Torres. And can you describe a memorable investigation or a case that you worked with the foundation?
Yeah, I think for me, the most memorable one was the very first one. There was a case that came in. A family was concerned that their child was potentially seeing some sort of supernatural entity outside. And they were concerned. They were afraid. The child was like, well, we're seeing this. It's talking to him, so on and so forth. And so when we went in, we did the investigation. It took several weeks. We got a chance to meet the family. Come to find out that on the property, there was some sort of old burial for the family. And there was a child that was buried there. And so one of the family members removed one of the items that belonged to the child. It was a toy. And apparently, I guess, according to our teammates, that was a sense that this child was missing their toy. But the problem with that is I really have a hard time believing that children stay behind. I think more than anything, yep. It's negative in nature. I don't believe God will allow that to happen. But anyway, we were able to go in, we were able to cleanse, and we were able to just give that family peace, because at the end of the day, that wasn't a child. It was something more sinister trying to get a hold of that child. And so we were able to pray for the family, bless the family, put the blessings of the salt and all of that around the home. And so that was my memorable one, because we were able to help a child finally get some sleep. And out of all of it, that was the first time in 2 months that child was able to sleep a full night's rest.
So let me just make this, first of all, we appreciate people who maybe have a different perspective than perhaps maybe we do, and that's okay. But we're asking, just be respectful, as we are respectful to you. We ask that you are respectful to us, because we are giving you our perspective as clergy who actually work cases. See, there's a big difference between somebody who reads about them or watches them on YouTube. There's a big difference between watching or reading about cases and actually working cases that both of us have done. So I can tell you from my perspective, just as His Excellency just said, in every single case that and this is just for me, in every case that I have worked regarding children that were alleged children ghosts, every single case was demonic. And I've been in the paranormal community for 35 years. And this is just from my perspective. So people can't say, well, no, you're wrong. Well, no, this is my perspective. These are the cases that I work. So I agree. This is something that I have some pretty rough cases, certainly when it comes to children ghosts, that I just don't accept that as far as the, so I agree with you on that. Let me ask you, how did you approach cases that involve both paranormal phenomena and potential psychological factors?
Well, I mean, I always approach it with decency, with compassion, with respect, and with empathy. And I approach it impartial. Nothing changes. I always interview the family first. We do the very best to get the backstory, whatever the underlying issues, and then we go from there. But it's always treated with respect, because for us as clergy, we have to understand that for these people, these experiences are real. And although sometimes there may not be something there during the discovery phase, this is real to them, right? And so we have to be respectful, and we have to understand that they're in a volatile situation, even reaching out to us. And so it's always approached with respect, love, compassion, empathy, but also with discernment. That's how I approach these things.
So what are some common misconceptions about paranormal research, and then how do you address them? Because there's a lot of people certainly say earlier, as we had the same issue all the time with people coming in and saying that paranormal investigators are all doing the work of the devil and all this other stuff. And because I had to address that, because inevitably they always do this. And as I mentioned earlier in the monologue, prior to us starting, they're never the ones that answer the phone calls and goes to people's homes, and never. So how do you address these misconceptions about paranormal research?
Well, normally, sometimes I teach classes. Like I'll help out at the University of Magicus. Sometimes I'll do private courses, and I tell people, these are classes, in my opinions, based on my experience and my real theological training. I understand that everyone has a different approach. There's many different belief systems, but I just tell people, just entertain me for a minute and just listen to my perspective. You don't have to agree with me, but I'm speaking from experience. And 9 times out of 10, you will get some rude people, and they'll condemn you and they'll judge you. But guess what? I pray for them. At the end of the day, I cannot hate someone that God loves, and I just pray that the Lord reveal to them what the truth is. And people have their own subjective truth, and some people have their own narratives from the church that they were taught, and that's okay. But 9 times out of 10, I just approach it with humility and say, hey, this is what I want to talk to you about. This is my experience. This is what I've gone through. Just humor me for a minute.
Yeah, I was at one time a far more patient, but I've grown tired of the constant barrage of attacks on paranormal teams that work so hard, and they sacrifice so much in helping families. And in my opinion, this is just my opinion, they absolutely need more clergy who are doing this ministry to stand up and defend the paranormal investigators out there who take on cases for the church, who know that they're putting themselves in some pretty precarious situations, and yet they're still willing to do this. By God, I think they deserve our applause rather than our judgment, because I'm telling
I
you,
agree.
when I first started, Kenneth, I had nobody. I had no help. And I was so overwhelmed, and I didn't know how in the world I was going to help these people in California or Texas or New York, or how I was going to do it. So this is why I started a network of team many, many years ago, because I needed paranormal investigators to go out to a case, gather all the evidence, and then I would have to come up with a fundraiser on how I could get to these people's homes, because I've been I'm sure you've had. Tell us this. This is for me. This is my perspective. The hardest part of being an exorcist for the church is not working demonic cases. The hardest part is being on a phone with a family who are bawling their eyes out, and they are begging and pleading for me to get to their home. And I can't get to it right now because let's say it's in California or Florida or Texas, and I have to raise the money to get there. Honest to God, the hardest part for me, for this ministry, is having to tell the family, I can't get to you right now. That's the hardest part.
I agree 1,000%, Bishop. That is always the hardest part. You have these families that are in need, and they're struggling, and they're suffering, and they're so afraid of everything that's happening around them that I would love just to be able just to be there overnight, but we can't. And so, that's why I think the teams are important. They are our eyes and ears. If properly trained and properly vetted, I think the paranormal teams, could offer at least some sort of relief when it comes to dealing with the clients. And that's one of the things that you have to deal with. It's not the same thing being an investigator and investing haunted homes or haunted properties and then doing residential cases. Not the same thing. When you're dealing with residential cases, you have to understand psychology, sociology. You have to be able to understand the family dynamic. You have to understand that, there is some sensitivity here, and you also have to be mature enough to be able to handle that. I'd like to share a case with you if you give me the time to.
Of course. So, and let me just say something very quickly. Folks, please understand, someone's saying, well, why don't you just tell them the situation and they just buy the plane ticket? Let me explain something. People are struggling paycheck to paycheck. I mean, they're doing good right now, being able to buy their medicines and putting food on the table. So what's difficult is they can't just simply go out and buy an $800 plane ticket, because most people right now are 2 or 3 paychecks away from being homeless themselves. So this is why they can't just write out a check and send, because a lot of people just simply can't afford it. So, and by the way, tell me if I'm right or wrong. Does your church community, do they offer you a stipend or salary?
No, not at all.
People, you need to understand that with the United States Whole Catholic Church, we receive no stipend or salary also. And neither does my friend here, Bishop Kenneth. We receive no stipend, no retirement, no housing, no car allowance, nothing, zero, zilch, nada, nothing. We pay for our ministry out of our own pockets, and we do not charge, ever. So
that's true.
While that is honorable doesn't get you to that location. So we put our faith 100% in God. And if God wants us in that location, then God will always help us find a way. So this is why everyone needs to understand. People are saying, well, you guys get paid. Someone made a comment and said, well, you get salary. No, we don't. We receive no salary. This ministry that both of us do is 100% free, literally 100% free. So tell us the story that you were going to, if you would, about your particular case.
Yeah, just to elaborate on the last comment, it's true. Everything comes out of pocket. I'm a disabled veteran, and I have disabilities, but I also have a family, and I have responsibilities. And so I have to do my best to take care of my home front, and then whatever I have for ministry, I can try to use it to help other people. But it's always never enough. I was going to go into there is a duality when it comes to the paranormal teams, which is why I think education is important. Several years ago, a family came to us at the foundation, and they had said, hey, we need your help. We think that there is a potential demonic entity in our home. And we said, yeah, not a problem. We scheduled a phone call. We did the Skype interview. We spoke to the family. Come to find out that the family was like, our our son, who is older in nature, has a developmentally disabled. He's developmentally disabled, and he is also suffering from what we call triple schizophrenia. He believes that he is seeing demons, and although while it's plausible, it's always important to rule out the natural first. But what got me about this is, before that, the family was like, we need a second opinion because we had a team that came over last week. They charged us $5,000 to do a home investigation. And there was a psychic who took her training online and got her psychic certificate online the week before and said that my son had 35 legions of demons. And so the hardest part is talking down the family. And so we were able to communicate with the family, try to talk them down a little bit. And we're like, okay, well, this conversation has been a few hours. Let's go ahead and not rehash any feelings, because you want to be mindful of their time and their emotions, because they're afraid. Yeah. And so a few weeks goes by and we're trying to make contact with the clients. Nothing. And then about 2 months later, the clients reach back out to us and they're like, hey, Father, unfortunately, we can't work with you in the foundation anymore. And I go, why? Is something wrong? Did we do something wrong? They go, no. Unfortunately, our son took his life, and he left a note. He did it because he had 35 legions of demons because of the medium told him. She should be arrested. She should be arrested. To this day, that has been my most painful case, because this is a dangerous game. Even if there isn't anything supernatural there, you're not taking into effect the psychological factor and the.
Oh, I thought we lost you there for a second.
Oh yeah. I think my Bluetooth switched over. Okay. So there's a lot of psychological damage, and that's the thing. You didn't go through the process of elimination. You charged your family $5,000. You got your little certificate online the week before, and now this person unalived themselves because you told them. Because why? Because they trusted you. Because every time an investigator or a cleric goes inside a family's home, you are being trusted with their well-being. You're being trusted with their life and with their soul. And I don't care what anybody else says. You do not know this burden that we have to carry for the care of souls. This is the worst vocation to be in, because we get slandered, we get defamed, we get talked upon. Oh, you're not a Roman Catholic or this and that. You're not real. But they don't realize the actual training and the real theological training and the time that we put into our ministry. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Amen to that. You know what? The sad part about this, my friend, is these stories they occur far more often than you may know. The audience, not Bishop. Obviously, Bishop, it's. I'm growing so sick and tired of people, with all due respect, who call themselves, okay, if you're a psychic medium, that's one thing, but stop acting like a demonologist, because now you have people who are claimed to be psychic mediums immediately saying, well, now all of a sudden now they're experts in demonology. Because as soon as you go into a location, and I've had people go up and say, oh, I feel a demon. I feel a demon in here. It's a demon. You've now scared the heck out of this family. Now they're terrified. Now they don't know what to do. Then you're right. Then they charge an arm and a leg for it. And then we have to clean this mess up. Now, let me ask you, what got you into saying yes to being an exorcist? I'm curious about how did that start?
Well, I didn't really have a choice. At least within the Eastern Rite, the priests automatically are exorcists. Okay. It's a little different than our Roman counterparts. That's part of our daily vocation. So it's expected that, at least within the Eastern Rite, our priests understand the exorcism and deliverance ministry and understand how to distinguish spiritual warfare between exorcism. And most people don't realize this, Bishop, but most people who are Christians automatically go through an exorcism when they become Christians. When you get baptized, that is a rite of exorcism, and most people don't realize that. But within our rite, within the Eastern Rite, the old Catholic, the Catholic Orthodox Rite, priests, we automatically have been entrusted with the vocation of exorcism, and we are supposed to know and understand the prayers of Saint John Chrysostom, the prayers of Saint Basil, and so it is automatically expected of us.
So, what got you in as far as this work, deciding to get involved in helping the paranormal community?
Well, for me, I think both went hand in hand. I got tired of seeing the demonic being labeled as supernatural and supernatural being labeled as demonic. There had to be some middle ground in between. And like I said, the supernatural and paranormal investigations and demonic activity shouldn't be synonymous with each other. So I said, if I can approach this from my faith, but with also some real training, like mental health training, that sort of thing, and approach this from a chaplaincy perspective, I think I'd be able to make an impact. Because realistically, Bishop, correct me if I'm wrong, most of the work that we do is chaplaincy.
Mm-hmm.
When we are talking people down, we are performing chaplaincy. Let's say they're already in the oppression phase. What we are doing is chaplaincy. We are guiding them, right? Ultimately, to not have to perform an exorcism ritual. And most people don't realize that. A lot of the work that we do as clergy, as chaplains, board-certified mental health professionals, is counseling, coaching, and chaplaincy. And so if we can help people focus on their mind, their spirit, their emotions, and get them back in check, help them find their way back to God, help them heal those wounds from the family, then I think from my experience, my limited experience, that will not have to result in any sort of exorcism or deliverance ritual.
Yeah. See, the thing is you guys, here's the thing with the paranormal community. I've never in my life have I understood the competition. Never. I've seen so much competition within the paranormal community, within paranormal teams, and even within clergy. And I don't understand that, because it is so crucial to have a network of friends that you can really count on, depend on, a networking team, and say, hey, look, like, for example, if I had a case in California, I would not hesitate at all to call Bishop Kenneth and say, look, I need your help. Because we have to collaborate with one another. This is not about a competition. This is not who gets in first place. It's not a race.
Mm-hmm.
We're all in this together. And every single person, I will say every single person, the 35 years that I've been in this paranormal community, every person who does this for fame or to get a name for themselves, every single person have burnt out. They fizzled away, and they went away, and they just completely walked away from ministry altogether, because they were trying to run a race and they saw everybody else as competition. This is not about, it's not competition, it's collaboration. And this is why it's
Agreed.
important that I wanted to bring on my friend so he can talk to you guys about his perspective, because it's so important. I think it is. So from an Eastern Orthodox perspective, can you explain the process of an exorcism without, obviously, we're not teaching. First of all, let me make this clear. We're not, because people will go around saying, oh, now Bishop Torres and Bishop Long taught us how to do exorcism. We are not teaching anybody how. So can you give us a rough idea of the process of an exorcism and the role of a priest in this ritual regarding the Eastern Orthodox view?
So with us, when a person approaches us and they allege that there is demonic activity, I have my assessment team meet with them. My assessment team conducts interviews. I actually have a 16-page interview formula that I've created to help weed out some of the questions. And those 16 pages go into the psychological, the emotional, the spiritual. And it's not something that's done overnight. 16 pages, that's over 50 questions. What ends up happening too is we go into a discovery and discernment period. We meet with the family every week. We coach them, try to help them get back to church. We have them conduct psychological evaluations, medical evaluations. We conduct the research and the history on the property. We interview each person at a time. I conduct criminal background checks on each individual, unless they're minor. Obviously, they don't have that. And then from there, as we're in this discovery phase, which is a minimal of 6 months, we pray and we hope that God is revealed to us. But at the same time, we are looking for signs of demonic oppression, affliction. Not just, do I give you a rosary and you start lashing out and you start acting out? No. One case in particular, when I gave the person a cross and I put it in their hand, the sign of the cross burned into their hand and their eyes turned black. But that's prayer and discernment. And even with that, we weren't quick to judge and say, hey, we need to perform an exorcism. We understood that this person was still going through psychological trauma and was hurting. So we are meticulous. We have to be meticulous in our approach, because if you just jump directly to the exorcism or your possessed part, then you're missing out an opportunity to do a justice to the client. But Even what if the client is actually destined for sainthood? What if the client is suffering from stigmata? We have to take those things into consideration because God works in mysterious ways. So our approach is meticulous. It is tedious. And to be honest with you, Bishop, that's why a lot of people hate me. I have been accused for not confirming someone to be possessed. And so someone defamed me and slandered me because they went on social media and said, I hate this guy. He is a fraud. He is not real because he didn't confirm that my friend was possessed. And I take pride in that.
Been there, bought the ticket, bought the
Yep.
T-shirt. There are some people that are because they just want the attention. And if you say, look, there's no possession, there's nothing here. I mean, there's an individual who went around and contacted every single paranormal team, every single clergy. I went to the person's home. I blessed the home. There was no possession. I'm not performing an exorcism. And they just went off. And so let me ask you this. Yeah, let me ask you. So what training is required then for a priest to perform exorcism in the Orthodox Church?
So the training is understanding the liturgy, St. Basil the Great, the prayers, St. Chrysostom. It's understanding the liturgy. It's being in a state of grace, always praying, always taking the Eucharist, always taking the Mass. But more importantly, you watch and you observe. You sit with other priests and you assist in the exorcism ministry. You read the liturgy, you read the prayers of St. Basil the Great. And then when you have enough experience, or if your bishop deems you responsible enough, then you have that. But typically within the Eastern Rite, it is a rule that priests do not need the permission of their bishop because it is a role that is automatically assigned to them upon ordination and priesthood. But I still like to ensure that my clergy are always prepared and that they are in a state of grace. So I pray with them, I read scripture with them, and if they tell me that I've got something going on, I still take an older approach and I go, I'd like to learn more about this before we proceed.
Yeah, so let me address a question, and then we'll ask Bishop Kenneth this. Where Chris wants to know, where are all these videos of these possessions and exorcisms? That's a good question, and let me address that very quick. No. Let me say this, and I'm going to make this, and I've said this for about 25 years. Any person who performs an exorcism on an individual and places it on YouTube or social media to get likes or get following, they are committing a mortal sin. It is evil. It is disgusting. It is vile. This is something that is sacred. It is a sacred rite. It is not entertainment hour. So anybody who does this and puts on the social media so you can get likes, that you are making a mockery of this very sacred rite. And not only that, but this person has gone through extreme trauma that led up to possession, not only the individual, but also the family. And now, so let's say that the demonic is expelled. And so now they're flipping to the YouTube or whatever other social media, and now they're seeing a video of themselves, of course, in a possessed state. And now they're having to relive all this. That in of itself, if any clergy, I will tell you this, and I'm like this very clear. As the presiding Archbishop for the United States Old Catholic Church, and I've told my clergy this, if any clergy did that, I would immediately defrock them.
Yep.
Immediately, without question. I would remove them from the priesthood because that's an abomination. You don't do this. It's not for entertainment, God. We're not here for entertainment hour, and we're not going to use someone's suffering and anguish for the financial benefit. That is demonic. It's evil, and I consider it a mortal sin. And based on your reactions, I'm understanding you probably feel the same.
I feel the same way. You know, it's different when you take this video and you bring it to your bishop, or you're teaching it in a theological setting. Mm-hmm. If you're teaching a group of would-be exorcists, that's a different thing.
Right. But
why would you want to watch someone defecate, urine themselves? Why would you like to see someone that is suffering in agony and in pain? Why? That's honestly, if you think that sort of way, then I would think that you have some sort of mental illness as well. That is the problem. Like, everybody wants proof. Even if we provided the proof, they would still say that it's fake.
Right,
because
exactly.
That's the way the enemy works.
100%. And people say, well, we just want to see it. Folks, listen.
Yeah.
You're watching a person who has gone through extreme trauma Why do you want to see this? The bigger question really you need to ask yourself is why? Why would you want to see someone who has gone through extreme physical, psychological, spiritual trauma? Why would you want to see that? It's not a movie. This is a real life of someone who is truly struggling, for God's sakes. Let me ask you, again, for those of you just joining us, I'm talking to our friend, Bishop Kenneth Torres, and can you share a particularly challenging or memorable exorcism that you endured and how it impacted you?
So this happened about 2 years ago. There was an individual that came to us for help. This individual, along the side, what the story is. It's all common. I'm seeing this. I'm hearing this. I'm feeling this. Oh, I feel like I'm possessed. In that point in time, we didn't really know what we were dealing with. And so I came into the interview in plain clothes. No one knew I was clergy. This person does not have social media. I sat down with the team. And as soon as I sat down with the team, this individual changed their personality and looked up at me and said, "I know who you are, priest." And told me my name, told me my address, told me the trauma that I faced when I was in the military while I was deployed, told me everything about personal situations that no one knew. And then at the end of the day, it changed me. It shook me because now it was like, all right, I thought I was prepared for this. I thought this was going to be just one of those days where it's like, you know what? We're going to go ahead and disprove that this is not supernatural. This is not demonic. But I was proven wrong. And, and that was a lesson as well, because sometimes humility goes a long way. And sometimes I think we get comfortable with always saying no, that we could be some sort of time, not dismissive, but just like, okay, it's going to be one of those things. We've done this hundreds of times again, and it's nothing. So maybe this is just nothing, but I was proven wrong. And so we were able to help this individual out. This person suffered from SA abuse. This person suffered from physical abuse. This person suffered from being lent around by other individuals. There was a trauma with emotional damage. This person was left to be alone, no familiar supports, and was just horrible. But praise be to God, this person has now been delivered through prayer, through deliverance, through scripture. Now they serve God and they are involved in ministry, testimony. And so that was just a beautiful experience. But it was also a stark reminder of the realities that we face.
So how do you, we have our own protocols. How do you ensure the safety and the well-being of the individual that's undergoing exorcism?
So in my case, because with the foundation, we don't necessarily do exorcism. That's one thing. When it comes to the religious side, I have two friends that are, one of them is a psychologist and one of them is a medical doctor. Mm-hmm. In the event that we do have to go home to their home, we ensure that there is a psychologist, a medical professional there. I try to kindly advise the police department that I am clergy and we're going to be performing a prayer and ritual at this person's home. We ensure that their vitals are good. More importantly, we ensure that all of their medical documentation and everything is up. It's up to date, right? We want to make sure that they're well hydrated, that they've slept, that more importantly, they've been doing what we've asked them to do, and that they are in a good, healthy physical state. And we just sit them down and we pray for them. And then we kind of gauge as it progresses. And it's not like Hollywood. I think everyone thinks that there's going to be some sort of levitation, which can happen. Things do happen, but most of the time, these prayers, this exorcism ritual is actually pretty quiet. And so that's kind of our protocol. We ensure that everyone is safe. We ensure that everyone is also in a state of grace. They've gone through confession, they've taken mass, but more importantly, that their spiritual life is right.
So let's switch gears here to pastoral counseling. The anxiety right now is just out the roof. So many people, it's terrible. I mean, people have always struggled with anxiety, but it seems like anxiety and depression is just on an enormous level, at least from my perspective as a chaplain. So what techniques do you use to help individuals who are struggling with anxiety and depression? And for example, let's say that someone might be struggling with anxiety and depression right now. What advice would you give them?
So what I always tell them is like, do me a favor, just sit down, take a deep breath in, and just breathe out. More importantly, I want you to know that you need to be kind to yourself. Your anxieties, your troubles, and your problems don't define who you are. I want you to go back to a time where you found happiness. I want you to go back to a place where you find joy. And I want you to focus on that. And then from there, we just kind of continue. And I offer either breathing techniques and exercises. If it's Christian, like if the person is Christian, Catholic, I offer them scriptural prayer. I offer them some advice. More importantly, I tell them, do your best to try to get involved in the community. Maybe even go outside, take a walk, do something nice. Just be selfless for a minute. But more importantly, always just be kind to yourself. And so it just all depends on the situation, but that's normally how I start.
Has there ever been a time where you have worked a demonic case and it made you think that, okay, I'm in over my head, that perhaps maybe I need to contact this clergy person or that clergy person? And if so, tell us about that.
Yes, so there was a case that did come to me, and by this time already, it was extreme. It was an extreme case. From the documentation that was provided to me, there was levitation. I guess this individual may have been walking on fours, potentially up the wall. And at that time, I wasn't ready for it. I had lost my brother to unaliving himself. And so what I just did is I referred it back to a good friend of mine who's clergy out in Colombia, and he handled the case. Because we also have to understand our limitations. And it's not healthy to try to jump in every case, and try to solve it. I think also as clergy, we also need time to reevaluate our personal life. We need time to understand and say, hey, maybe this is not for me. But the case was so severe where there were just, it was just horrible. The person wasn't eating. The person had already lost weight. They were dehydrated. And that's not something that I was prepared to take on ethically and legally. And so I turned it over to another friend who actually is a Vatican priest in Colombia. And I don't know what they did. A few months later, he assured me that the client was taken care of.
So what about, what advice would you give? Because there's so many paranormal teams and really individuals who are using social media to try to get a following and, make a name for themselves, or they just want to get a following. And what they're doing, a lot of people is, of course, they're going to locations that are known to be demonic, doing investigations. What advice would you give folks who are enticed, or certainly there's a lot of that occurring, and so a lot of problems because of it. So what advice would you give them?
I would tell people, why would you want to get into paranormal investigations? I normally try to advise people to refrain from that sort of stuff. If you're doing it for thrills and frills, then this is definitely not for you. You have to be emotionally and spiritually mature. You have to understand what you're doing. And that doesn't mean that every encounter you're gonna face is demonic, but energy attracts energy. We know that the environment can also affect you. So I normally would try to advise people stay away from that. But if you are going to do it, make sure that you do it in a humble way, right? Make sure that you understand what you're getting yourself into, because it can still be dangerous no matter how you look at it. But more importantly, why are you doing this? Are you trying to make an impact? Are you trying to help the families? Are you trying to help whatever lost soul is there? Then if your answer is no, if you're doing it for thrills, then I would ill advise, just don't do it. Stay away from it. Stay away from the paranormal. Stay away from the supernatural. Focus your energy in other things. There's so many other things that we could be doing that getting involved in the paranormal maybe shouldn't be for you.
So what about, of course, I can probably predict your answer here, but what about people who play around with Ouija boards or divinations? And what is your church community's view on psychics and mediums?
So the church view on the psychics and mediums, we understand that there are individuals that God has bestowed gifts upon them, and we have to be really careful when we convey these messages, because for us, it's more importantly how you use these gifts, right? How you use these gifts, either for good or for bad. But you're right, it's true, it's out there, divination, witchcraft, that sort of thing. Although I don't agree with it, I understand that people have their own path, but I just advise people just stay away from that. More importantly, Ouija boards, it's a recipe for disaster.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how you look at it, just because something doesn't happen right away doesn't mean that you still can't be afflicted. These demonic entities and demons, they don't operate off of our time and space continuum. And so although you may not be afflicted now, 15, 20 years down the road, it can affect your family, it can affect your children. But more importantly, the example that I give individuals with the Ouija board, spirit communication is still spirit communication. You still have to be careful. But with the Ouija board specifically is you have a group of individuals with all different energies and different mindsets that you don't know what each individual mindset is. So
Right.
It is that mass gathering of energy, right, that can either attract something darker or something powerful. So, for example, if John Doe is doing some sort of ritual on the Ouija board and he's perfectly fine, but the other two John Does are thinking about unaliving themselves, they have marital problems, they lost their job, that's probably not a good time to delve into that sort of stuff. Either way, stay away from the Ouija board. Stay away from it.
It's amazing how people who play with the Ouija board, folks, I don't know why people don't understand this. I'm going to have to delete this person because this person doesn't quite understand that. But people need to understand when you're using a Ouija board, please understand that's a form of possession.
Right.
I don't know why. It's like people think that it's okay. You're allowing a spirit whose entity you do not know to use your body. That's a form of possession, to move the planchet. That is
oh my gosh.
Possession.
Yes. Agreed 1000%.
It's like, why I don't understand why people can think, well, that's okay. Sure. I'll let this spirit over here control my body. Absolutely. Come on over. Yeah, that sounds like a great time. This is why clergy like myself and Bishop Torres is saying, stay away from these things. It makes no sense to even mess with them.
Yeah. Like my deacon says, Ouija boards are the same as driving a Big Mac truck down a highway with 3 wheels, top run 90 miles per hour.
Yeah.
And that's from the South.
It's kind of like you kind of scratch your head and say, well, that's interesting. So what do you think about, there's a lot of people who ask, the new equipment, there's so much equipment out there, and, there are digital recorders or the REM pod. There's the equipment, they're making new equipment all the time.
Right.
Do you think there is danger with using these type of equipment, whether it be the REM pod or whether it be a digital recorder for EVPs? Or do you think really people who do paranormal, because there's a lot of people say, look, I like paranormal investigating just because I want to go to a location to see what we capture. And they say, well, Bishop Long, there's no harm in that. As clergy, would you tell them, look, just stay away from paranormal investigating unless you are working for the church in some capacity?
Right. Yeah. There's always dangers when you're dealing with the spirit realm. It doesn't matter if it's an EVP recorder. It doesn't matter if it's a camera. There is always still the potential of some sort of interaction that can happen. And sometimes that interaction may not be within your favor. At the end of the day, spirit communication is still spirit communication, no matter if you want to use a camera, a Ouija board, a REM pod, which I also think can be helpful if you are a good investigator and you're doing it for the right purposes. That equipment can help isolate and maybe potentially indicate what activity is happening. Now, what type of activity, I can't say, because I don't fall into this idea, well, we're speaking to this sort of spirit. We really don't know what we're communicating with. That's the truth. It's the spirit realm. And we understand from our experience that spirits can manifest in certain ways, and they can also be good at hiding. So it could be a demonic entity. But either way, spirit communication is still spirit communication. And just be careful when you're doing it, because you might get something you don't like.
So how many exorcisms have you performed as far as people who are validly possessed, the solemn rite of exorcism?
I've only done one solemn rite of exorcism, and the other 4 cases have been demonic oppression and infestation. But I've only done one exorcism, and that exorcism was with the individual that I mentioned earlier, and that was the one that shook me to the core at the beginning. But I've only done one. I haven't been an exorcist for long. I've been clergy for a long time, but recently, within the past 5 years, it's when I've been appointed as an exorcist. So I don't have the extensive experience that you do, Bishop, but I do know that one case, yes, that is the only one true possession case that I've had. The other cases have been infestation or oppression,
and quite
which
honestly,
is rare.
And one is enough. I mean, seriously, after you've done it, it's like, okay, this is, because it's heavy stuff. I mean, this is, guys, you have to understand when, if you are, like, for example, Roman Catholic or other denominations, a lot of them will have programs to help the exorcist, kind of deal with the emotional stress that comes with performing exorcisms. But with us, that type of, there's not a plethora of information there for us, and we have to many times just kind of absorb it and work through those trauma, especially the worst case. One of the worst cases that I've ever worked, it took a toll. It took a major toll. It was an incubus case, and that took a major toll on me. So that was one time I thought, boy, I don't know, maybe this is too much. I worked with her for 3 years. She was 68 years old, and I can't go into detail because it's pretty intense. But that was it. That was the one case in my mind that I thought, maybe someone else is more holier, someone else is more intelligent, someone else is, and then I finally got to the point, well, someone else is not here. I'm here. So, you're here.
Right.
God put you
and
here.
that happens a lot. The enemy likes to plant seeds in our brain. And I don't think we can ever be, I guess, prepared in a certain way. Like we don't know, what that exorcism is going to entail. But we can prepare ourselves, by doing the things that we do with clerical care, with the sacraments, the liturgy, being in a state of grace, and just mentally and physically preparing ourselves. But with this case, it resulted in me getting a really bad stomach infection, and the doctors were like, "We're going to have to put a gastric pacemaker in your stomach, or we're just going to have to get you the bariatric surgery, which you don't qualify for. But since you are diabetic, we're just going to go ahead and approve it." And so for a year straight, I suffered with really bad stomach pains. I could not sleep while I was helping with this case. When I started this case, that's when all of these things started happening. My bowel system, like my stomach, it was just an excruciating pain with bad dreams and things happening. Even one point in time where all three of my dogs ended up getting a seizure at the same time, and they were in different parts of the house. It created a divide within the home, but that was the enemy working. And so thank God, everything worked out well. And I'm going to still continue to do this ministry. I believe it's a vocation. It isn't for the lighthearted. If anything, it's just a reminder that humanity, we're fragile, and we can play an important part in helping those understand. And maybe what they don't understand is that this is dangerous. It exists. We believe in it. You may not believe in it, but at the end of the day, we know it's real.
What advice would you give somebody who is watching this now and might, be praying about the possibility of getting involved in this type of ministry? So what advice would you give them?
Pray, 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 pray without ceasing. It's not like the movies. It's not like Hollywood. This takes a toll on you psychologically, physically, and mentally. It is one of the biggest burdens that can be a blessing, but it takes a lot. And it's more than just reading scripture. It's more than just going to church. You have to ensure that this is your vocation. You have to go through a discernment phase. You have to just pray and talk to other people who are validly in this ministry and get their advice. Make sure that you have a good psychological history. Make sure you don't have any traumas. Make sure you've never done substances or alcohol, that sort of thing. You want to make sure that you also have a clean background, because those vices and those things that you're recovering from can and will be used against you in the spiritual realm. Amen. These things know. They're a lot smarter than what we are. And if you think you can just go up in there and willy-nilly and Psalm 91 or Psalm 23, you are sorely mistaken, because you will hurt yourself and you will get other people hurt or potentially unalived.
Do you have a few more minutes to chat with you? Is that all right? Or do you have to run?
That's perfect. No,
So,
that's fine. I'm good.
So about 25 years ago, people kept going on and on and on and on and on about prove to me, demons exist, prove to me. And I took this to prayer because I was getting so sick and tired of people saying prove. And then I was in night prayer once, and I was asking God for prayer and guidance, and this just calm, just this thought came into my mind. And I tell you, I want to share this with everybody, because especially with you, because it was one of the most profound moments. It took a completely different direction, because I wanted people to believe me. Because, well, folks, please understand this, and I've said this before. Again, we are not salary. We do not receive a stipend. There is no income whatsoever from the church. We do not charge. Both Bishop Kenneth and myself, we're both educated men with advanced degrees. And I'm telling you now, if we did not know that possession exists, we would do something else with our time, because we're not doing this we don't charge. So we're not doing it for income. We don't do it for fame, because when you do things for fame, you do it to make money. Well, you're not going to make money if you don't charge. So I got so stressed out because I wanted people to believe in some of the things that I saw. And I was angry. Right. And then finally that peace came to me. James, you are not here. So I'm not here to convince you. I'm not here to convince anybody that demons exist. I am here to help the families who know that they do. And at that moment, a peace, because it wasn't my job to convince anybody that demons exist. It was my job to help the families who know they do. It was, and I always tell people that, prove to me that demons exist. I am not here to prove to you that demons exist. I am here to help the families who know they do. And that's a piece.
I'd like to share a similar story too. Oftentimes, being a veteran and suffered through trauma and having a traumatic brain injury, and it took me a long time to finish school, 12, 13 years on and off, because of everything that I had to do. I had to learn how to talk and to walk again. And I've always doubted myself. I'm definitely not a Jordan Peterson. I'm not you. And so I've always doubted myself. But then one day, 2 times, I go to a Botanica. After my appointment at the VA, I'm going to go to the Botanica, which is one of those metaphysical stores that we have here in the States, right? I'm going to go to Botanica because I wanted to get some holy water. I wanted to see what things they have. And as soon as I'm walking into the Botanica, I'm in plain clothes. I'm in my Marine Corps sweater. I'm in this internal struggle. I've had it for 2 days, 3 or 4 days. I walk up to the counter and the lady says, "You need to leave now, priest. We do not want you here. Your presence is not required. Leave now, priest. Santa Muerte does not want you here." And I go, "Oh," and I'm in plain clothes. And I go, "Okay, that was kind of weird. Maybe they know me from social media." Then 7, 8 months later, I go to another Botanica on the other side of the county because I wanted some tamales. I live in California. We got some of the best tamales. As soon as I walk in, the shop owner says, "Leave now, priest. We don't want you here. We know who you are." And I go, "What the heck is this?" I'm in my plain clothes and I couldn't even get into the store. And that moment I broke down crying because God was with me. And that let me know that I do have God's grace and covenant upon me, because so much of what we do is we doubt ourselves. And that was God's confirmation right there of my spiritual authority, to be told 2 times, "You are not welcomed here. You know who we are. We've spoken to you before. Leave now."
It's interesting because I always tell people, in Scripture, the one being that never, ever, ever denied the divinity of Christ, demons. Demons never, ever denied the divinity of Christ. And demons certainly are threatened by people, all of us, as we are created in the image of God. So let's switch. And by the way, you say you're not me. And while I appreciate that compliment, I am not you, because you, sir, deserve our respect and honor and love for serving as a U.S. Marine. I tell you what, that is something to be very proud of. So thank you very much for your service.
I just try to be a humble servant, sir. I mean, I'm always grateful for the opportunity, and I cry because this work is so important to me. I'm all about being professional, but this is one of the biggest blessings in my life, to be able to help those around me. And it's just always a blessing to be able to wake up every day and carry this burden for others.
Amen to that. So, and I'm here anytime you need. Of course, you know my number now, so we can. It's amazing that we've known each other, but we've never really connected. Because we're just we get so busy in ministry, So
And to be honest with you, I was a little nervous of reaching out to you because a person of your caliber, I was like, I'm not worthy to know this guy. I'm not worthy to talk to him. One of those things. That's how the enemy gets in your head.
So I am not worthy to. I'm not worthy to speak to you. I'm not worthy to speak to you. You are a U.S. Marine. So I look at it just the other way around. You're a U.S. Marine and an exorcist, for the love of God. I mean, it's like anything else you want to put on your resume there, Mr. Sunshine? Anything else?
No. That's just I did work for the government. I did work counterterrorism. So I did work counterterrorism. Yeah. But that was a long time ago.
So I'm not going to tick you off. I'm not going to make this guy mad.
So all of that is the transition into servitude. I think my life was guided to where I have to be selfless and I'm serving others. And so my military and my prior professional career had led me into this. And I just do it with the sincerity. And if I don't know something, I won't pretend I don't. I'm not going to lie. I don't know the answer. I'll get back to you. Let me reach out to my colleagues.
That's right.
Because it's ego is one of the biggest things, and pride. It's one of the first sins I was committed. If you have too much pride and you have too much ego, you've already lost yourself.
Amen. And remember, ego stands for edging God out. Okay, let's switch gears very, very quickly here. Let's throw some. If you have some questions you want to ask, feel free to jump in. But do you believe in Bigfoot?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I believe in Bigfoot. The thing with human beings is we always try to label something. We try to put something in a box, and people say dinosaurs never existed or this and that. But I believe there are things out there. And I always say this because every time I say it, I sound like I'm on the show. There are things in this world that we will never fully understand. And so I laugh at that. And that's the truth. There are a lot of things that we don't understand. But I believe in cryptids. When I was in Puerto Rico as a child, I believe what I experienced to see was the chupacabra at night. And my culture too. I'm Spanish, so there's a lot of Spanish folklore. I believe in cryptids. I believe in aliens, although I don't believe they're good. I had a case where.
Oh, you do believe in aliens?
Most of my cases, I do, but I believe they're fallen angels. But I don't necessarily think in a space form manner. But the cases that I've had with these supposed alien encounters have been violent for my clients. And so I do think that what we would call aliens are really demonic beings or fallen angels.
Okay, so it's a lot, because a lot of people ask me that a lot about my personal opinion on. So you accept aliens as exist? You accept Bigfoot? What about chupacabra?
Well, maybe I was hallucinating as a young kid. Maybe it was something I didn't understand. Maybe it was some sort of animal that I couldn't, put to words as a young kid. I do believe that sort of thing exists. I believe like I said, to be the chupacabra, but I'm not fully convinced. I know that there are things out there, and I know that there are a lot of mysteries that we can't comprehend. So I'm open to the idea of different phenomena.
I think that's fair. Is there one place in the United States, just one place, that you would absolutely love to investigate? What would it be?
Oh my gosh. Well, I live by Winchester Mystery House. I live by Alcatraz. There's this place in Kansas. I don't know what it's called. The Hinsdale House, maybe? I think that's what it's called. Right. I think that's where it's in Kansas. I believe it's the Hinsdale House. Okay.
So, all right. And so that would be is there any other place in the United States?
Well, I'd love to investigate with you.
Okay.
But honestly, I don't have a bucket list. I'm not really big into paranormal tourism.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing it's not what I do. If I do give lectures, I'll do an investigation during the lecture at the venue, but I don't necessarily have a specific place in the United States. I would love, however, to go to Europe, to the old kingdoms, to the old castles, and then explore and investigate those places.
Now, I do know in Kansas, there's a location called the Sally House that I've been to before.
That's the one.
Yeah, and I've been to the Sally House before, and actually there was I've had a couple situations. So in one case, there was an investigator. This happened twice in the Sally House. One of the investigators that we had kind of went off on his own. He wasn't supposed to do that, and he was screaming bloody murder because when we came back, his crucifix had actually embedded into his skin with third-degree burns. So as we pulled the crucifix out, his skin came off with it. So even to this day, he still has that burn. And that also happened in another demonic case. So yeah, the Sally House we actually have a really quite frightening picture. Maybe one day I can send it to you. It's without question, it is a demonic in that home. That is home. It's a crazy place.
Right,
So,
right. I've heard of it. I've seen it, and I'm interested in just being in the environment and just listening, and maybe trying to get rid of what's there.
yeah, it's a terrible location. It's a terrible location. So, any other thoughts that you want to share? Anything else that you would like to share with this community here before we wrap things up?
Yes.
Okay.
First of all, happy Valentine's Day, and secondly, remember to be kind to yourselves and to others. You don't know what other people are going through, so just be kind to yourselves and others.
Well, amen to that. I want to thank you so very much for your willingness to stop by and say hello to us. And we make sure, of course, now, we know that you're on social media. Of course, are you on TikTok?
Yes, I'm on TikTok. I will post hi right now in the comments.
Okay.
And then you'll see it's Dr. Ken. So that's me. Well, let's go right there. So Dr. Ken is me.
All right. So when you see Dr. Ken, that make sure you guys follow. There it is, guys. So Dr. Ken there posted appended. So make sure that you follow him here on TikTok. Now, are you, of course, can you tell everybody, do you have a Facebook or a website or however?
Yes. So I do have a Facebook. My Facebook that's in my link tree in my TikTok. I do have a Facebook, and I also have a website called it's spelled out fatherkendoctor.com. www.fatherkendoctor.com.
fatherkendoctor.com. Well,
Correct.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that so very much. And we're gonna disconnect the call, but I'll send you a message a little later on social media, and we'll get together. And we're looking forward to seeing you in April.
Once again, thank you for this privilege and this honor. Be blessed, my brother. Be blessed.
Thank you, my friend. Have a good one.
All right.
Bye-bye. All right, everybody. Well, listen, we appreciate our friend Dr. Ken for jumping in and saying howdy to us. That was very, very nice. And people kept sending messages over and over and over. I was like, give me a break. So, yeah. So just all you got to do is just go to his site there on TikTok and make sure you follow him because, we, like I said, we're working together, helping each other. And this is because it's really important. I think it's so important that we connect and we learn from each other. We'll do a blessing here afterwards in just 1 second. So I promise you we will do that in just one moment because we're going to be going over some other things very, very quickly. And then we'll be wrapping up the show. I can't believe it's almost time. Oh my goodness gracious. This is what happens when you have a great guest on and you're having a good time. That's a good thing. That is a good thing. So let me just fix this real quick. And then we will kind of go from there. So bear with me. All right. There. Okay. So let's go over a couple things here, guys, because I want to share some really interesting. Yeah. Happy Valentine's Day to you, wherever you are in this beautiful, beautiful world. Have you ever heard of, most of you probably have, Christina Ricci? She's the actress. Have you? Oh, in Massachusetts? Oh, that's cool. Well, Christina Ricci, listen to this. So she says that this is by Jessica Wang. So Christina Ricci stood up to a ghost while filming in a defunct mental asylum. She said, "Don't mess with me. Oh. So predictably, supernatural horror icon Christy Ritchie is not afraid of ghosts. The actress appeared on the latest episode of Kelly Clarkson's talk show to chat all things Yellow Jackets when the subject turned to the supernatural. And Ritchie is known for her work in the genre, having starred in The Addams Family, Sleepy Hollow, and of course, Casper, and among other titles. And given that Clarkson asked her, "Do you believe in the supernatural?" And she says, I always say about a lot of things that I don't know, so I'm open to it, shares Ritchie. Just in case I had a few things that were either manifestations of my anxiety or were ghosts. Anyway, Ritchie then detailed the time that she encountered what could possibly been a ghost while shooting her 2001 film, Prozac Nation, in a defunct mental asylum in Vancouver. That in of itself. Filming in that type of location, that's a lot of energy. And whether it's residual energy is just, for example, if you've ever gone to a location and you just felt the energy, that's residual energy. And I can imagine, the anxiety, frustrations, and the energy that must have occurred in the mental asylum. Anyway, she said, anytime you shoot there, there's like 5 other productions that shoot there. And she said, of the productions Hotspot, which has also been the backdrop of her hit show Yellow Jackets. She said, back when I was 20, I was doing a movie called Prozac Nation, and I was shooting in the same mental asylum. I had left something upstairs where we've been shooting, which was supposed to be a hospital room with beds and all that stuff. And I went up to get it. It was lunch, and nobody was in there. Went up and got the thing, and I was coming down, and there were these stairs, the type of stairs where you go down, and there's a wall here, and then you turn around, and there's another wall. She's describing, obviously, the scene. Ritchie recalled her hearing footsteps. But I was like, was that actually my ears or was that in my brain? And she said as she turned the wall, I saw black shoes coming down. And I just went forward and just walked. The encounter was enough to make the actress less of a skeptic, especially when she found herself in the same setting while filming Yellow Jackets. I believe in it enough that now when we shoot in the asylum and I'm by myself in the hallway or something, I'm just like, don't mess with me. I know you're here. I don't care. Leave me alone. I'm here for work. These type of locations can be very, very active. And here's the problem with a lot of these locations. A lot of these locations that have extreme anxiety that has occurred or energy, people will do things that they shouldn't do, like go into that location and play with Ouija boards or whatever it might be, and invite all these spiritual beings, if you will, into that area and really desecrate the place. And it amplifies the problem. And this is what happens quite a bit. As a matter of fact, this is what happens at the Gates of Hell Cemetery that I did a documentary on To the U, as they call it. You have to say that because TikTok will shadow ban you, but that I actually did this. So the Gates of Hell Cemetery is in Kentucky. And it's an old abandoned cemetery 20 years ago. No one even knew it existed in the paranormal community. It was an old abandoned cemetery in Kentucky. And some families who had family members buried there, it's no longer active, contacted me and said, look, could you please go there and bless the grounds, because we know people are going there desecrating the grounds. They're performing satanic rituals. So we went there and literally all hell broke loose there. I mean, the activity was just intense. And that's when we went on the radio and said, man, this is like the Gates of Hell. And that's how it got its name. But see, that's what I'm saying, is that people go to these locations and then they do things that they shouldn't do. It's the same thing with Bobby Mackey's. So it's the same thing with Bobby Mackey's. I have not, Spiritual Mystic. No. I might have to look into that. But see, people ask me all the time about Bobby Mackey's. Now, Bobby Mackey's was active, but I will tell you this, and I've said this many, many, many times. The Gates of Hell Cemetery made Bobby Mackey's look like Walt Disney World. There's no difference. I mean, you can't compare. There's no comparison. I got to tell you something, guys. This is a place the Gates of Hell Cemetery is a place. This is the only place in the world that I've been to where it completely changes from daylight to darkness. I did. I'm the one. So, like I said, 20 years ago, it was not even known in Kentucky. It was not even known. It was actually been over 20 years. It was not even known. And so we did an investigation there, and we got growls. I mean, it was insane, the evidence that we captured in that place. And then the next day, when online radio was in its infancy, I was doing a radio show, and I said, man, this is like the Gates of Hell. And then someone, that's it. We're going to start calling it from the Gates of Hell. And that is how it got its name. But it is a place, the Gates of Hell Cemetery, it is a location that I promise you, if you've been there during the day, you can definitely feel like you're being watched. But at night, it is a different world. It is not the same location. And I will tell you this, I do not go there at night. I've been there at night. I don't like it because I have no business being there, because I know that what is there is and what is there is evil. And that's the thing. I did a documentary on that. By the way, it's on the tube to the U. If you just go to my bishopjameslong.com, scroll down to right in the middle, and you'll see social media links, and you'll see that. I don't know why it's different. Curtis, it's hard to explain it. During the day, it's just a different world. It really is like Silent Hill. And that's the only place that I've ever experienced that. The only place. Because at night, it's just a different world. It is a different world. But that is the place where me and 3 other clergy members, we saw that thing in that tree that I don't know, for the love of God, I don't know what that was. But I know I saw it, and so all of us did. Yeah, it's a cemetery. Yeah, cemetery. But yeah, that was a place that it's in. I'm not giving information. I'm not, because people are going to run to it. I'm telling you now. Listen to me carefully, as God is my witness. I do not go there at night. So if any of you are going to say, "Oh, good, let's go," I get why, because then you're going to end up contacting me. Oh, Bishop Long, I went there and then I got scratched and I got bit and then something, and then I went home and now all hell's breaking loose and you want me to fix it. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not the one who broke it. So don't go there. Stay away from that location. There is nothing good that comes from that location. Nothing. Stay away from it. I'm telling you that, and people always tell me, well, I'm not afraid. Okay. I had a paranormal team. They contacted me. This was about 10 years ago. Well, I've heard you talk about Gates of Hell. We're going to go check it out. And I told them, don't do it. Oh, well, we have a radio show and we're not scared. Don't do it. Oh, yeah. So I was working on ministry and I get a phone call and people are screaming on the phone. Well, Bishop Long, we need to come to your church right now. We are on our way. Someone got scratched and they are bleeding, and they got scratched in the back, and someone's hair got pulled so much that clumps of the hair fell out. We need you right away. And I'm saying, I cannot help you right now. I'm sorry, I can't. Because literally I couldn't, because I was doing ministry at that time. There's no way for me to get away from ministry, and I couldn't do it. So I'm sorry. I told you not to do it. So I can't stop what I'm doing because you chose to do exactly what I told you not to do. You're the one who did it. So you'll have to wait until I don't have the time. I can't. And there was just no way. There was no way for me to just drop everything. I couldn't and head on over to the church and help them. So I told them I couldn't do it. Sorry. See, people say, well, that's not fair. They were warned. They were told not to do it. So why am I being blamed? Because I didn't drop everything that I was doing, because I couldn't at that time, because I was helping a family who were planning a funeral. And the funeral was the next day. So I wasn't going to say, oh, I'm sorry, but now I got to deal with these people who went out to the graveyard and did stupid stuff. And I'm sorry. No, sorry, I can't do it. Can't do it. But yeah, folks, I'm telling you, you'll be in a situation if you do. The Book of Enoch is Gnostic. And so, no, I don't. There's a lot of things I don't agree with in the Book of Enoch. Listen to this. This is an interesting, the Alaskan Triangle. Judy Ann and I were talking about heading over to Alaska one day and perhaps going to the Alaska Triangle. Judy Ann is the Madam Executive Secretary. So listen to this. T.K. Randall, for those of you who don't know, writes this. The Bering Air flight had recently been reported missing in a region notorious for unexplained disappearances. So Alaska Triangle claims 10 more victims after missing plane has been found. So the alarm was raised when the small commuter plane, which had departed from the at some place to Nome at 2:38 p.m. on Thursday, failed to make it to its destination, sparking an extensive search and rescue operation lasting several days. Sadly, though, the search ended in tragedy when the wreckage of the plane was discovered earlier, approximately 34 miles southeast of Nome. And that's sad. And this was last week, by the way. It is believed that all 9 passengers and the pilot lost their lives in the crash. This, however, is by no means first such disaster to strike the region. In 1972, there was an area in between Anchorage and Juneau, and often referred to the Alaskan Triangle, has allegedly seen the disappearance of over 20,000 people. And in many ways, this echoes the most famous Bermuda Triangle, a region in which planes are said to disappear without a trace, where crashes and disasters are disproportionately commonplace. And one of the most notable disappearances to occur within the Alaskan Triangle was that of House Majority Leader Hale Boggs and Congressman Nikki Begich, who had been flying from Anchorage to Juneau in 1972 when their plane vanished, was never seen or heard from again. You know, there's a lot of people who actually say, and I don't agree with this. I just don't. I'm sorry. I look at it more analytical perspective, a logical perspective. A lot of people say that these people who go into these like a vortex, and then they just disappear and they enter into a different time zone, if you will. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think there's more of a logical explanation for this, meaning that, quite honestly, when you're dealing with Alaska, the weather can be quite dangerous and sometimes even unpredictable. Yeah, portals. And I just simply think that, and with the mountains, I think usually there is it's either pilot error or mechanical problems. Because quite honestly, I mean, you're dealing with very high mountains, you're dealing with dangerous terrain, of course, and the weather, as I said, can be very, very unpredictable. So, however, there are many people who claim that this triangle, but if you look at, okay, but here's the deal. Yeah, okay, but listen, yeah, but it's a big, I mean, it was a big open space that they found. But listen to this, though. So the Alaskan Triangle, okay, but hold on, hang tight. All right, I've seen a lot of shows. D, let me ask you a question. Do you ever ask people to pray for you? We kind of grow tired of people constantly attacking Catholics for praying to Mary, because I guarantee that when I see God face to face, when I see Jesus, Jesus will never be mad at me that I showed respect and honor to Mary. That I can tell you. But you tell people, please pray for me. That's all we do for Mary. So please stop with the attacks. We don't just shoo. Anyway, yeah, just really. So then don't. Don't. Okay, well then, but I didn't ask for your criticism, did I? So you're coming in here trying to get my attention. I'm not trying to get yours. And then you get my attention by being critical of my faith. Do you realize that shows more of a reflection on you than it does me? Because I don't think I'm going to lose my eternity by giving Mary respect and honor. But you attack a person who does show honor to Mary. It makes a lot of sense. Shoot. It's always people all just trying to get your attention. Trolls. Okay. Yeah, it's like, whatever. Hold on. Let me, we got to block another troll who has to have attention. Oh, goodness gracious. Goodness, you got to have attention. I tell you what, it's crazy, isn't it? This is interesting. This is an interesting, Nick. Oh, poor Nick. Oh, goodness. Okay. This is by T.K. Randall as well. Did you guys know that a new documentary into the UFO phenomenon will feature interviews with 34 current and former U.S. government officials? So for those of you, this is a really interesting article by T.K. Randall. An unprecedented UFO documentary was filmed in secret over 2 years. So creator filmmaker Dan Farah, The Age of Disclosure, is described as an unprecedented and revelatory film that delves deep into the subject of UFOs, alien visitation, and government cover-ups. It will include interviews with 34 current and former members of the U.S. military and intelligence communities. That's pretty impressive, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, New York Senator Kristen Gillibrand, and former Director National Intelligence General Jim Clapper. So that's some big hitters there. Other prominent individuals include Department of Defense official and Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program Director. So the film was granted unprecedented access and support from senior members of the U.S. government, military, and intelligence community. So anyway, everyone. So it's called The Age of Disclosure. The Age of Disclosure. So it says everyone interviewed in the film has direct knowledge of UAP as a result of their work for the U.S. government. The film exposes the profound impact the situation has on the future of humanity, while providing a look behind the scenes with those at the forefront of the bipartisan disclosure effort. According to reports, the documentary was actually made in secret over 2 years, perhaps in fear of attracting the wrong kind of attention from those who might want to stop it from seeing the light of day. And while a distributor for the film is still being sought, it is set to premiere at the South by Southwest Film Festival in March. So you can actually go on YouTube or Tube to the whatever and type in The Age of Disclosure. The Age of Disclosure. That's pretty impressive. I mean, you have some really heavy hitters. I think that's yeah, right. I think there is something going on. Bishop, I think people would treat you. I don't think they'll be speaking or behaving. I see. That's the thing. Here's the deal. Please understand this. And I want all of you to understand this. If you're being trolled by someone, never, I've said this so many times, never accept criticism from someone that you would not go to for advice. So if you wouldn't go to them for advice, then don't accept their criticism, because what they say doesn't matter, because they're trying to get your attention. You're not trying to get theirs. So you don't give them your attention because you're too busy and you don't have time to play around with adults who behave like children. So never, ever. That's why I don't care. Trolls do not get under my skin. They don't irritate me. I just don't like when they come in and defame, and blaspheme God and all this other, when we're trying to do night prayer or Bible study. That makes me mad. Or if they attack other people. But for me, I don't really care. Because I tell them, you have an opinion on how I should live my life, and which bill of mine are you going to pay this month? Oh, you're not going to pay my bills. So then your opinion don't mind. That's how you have to live your life. So just always just shoo fly. So only your friends, people, because there's a difference between constructive criticism and destructive criticism. And I've said this before, people who offer you constructive criticism, they want to help you. Maybe if they watch your presentation or your speech and they want to give you feedback to make you a better public speaker. That's constructive. Trolls, who are really kids, incompetent kids in adult bodies, they offer nothing but destructive criticism. So they're offering nothing. There's no benefit they offer society. Nothing. And they're clearly not intelligent enough to understand that when they do that, that falls under ordinary demonic activity. So when you're going around trolling other people, that is demonic activity. Because the Holy Spirit, if you're truly filled with the Holy Spirit, you don't troll others. You simply don't. Little advice. For those of you who are listening to this on Spreaker, I'll say goodnight to you guys. Yeah, we have this presentation, of course, on our Spreaker format. But don't forget, everybody, we're going to be here later on tonight. Later on tonight, we will have night prayer. And please join us. We would love to have that. Have you guys join us there. And if you can't be here for later on, then join us tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we have open mic nights. We goof off, have a good time, and then we go on to the TikTok and bring on the moderators. So, and Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is Bible study. Remember, my friends, I tell you all the time, your value does not decrease based on a troll's inability or refusal to see your worth. You are priceless, and don't let any troll tell you or convince you otherwise. So Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and Rumble, and KGREDB Radio. Good night.